Hi, it's Liana here. I know I got a new pajama shirt. So this has been heavy on my mind a lot. With just processing things and stuff like that. I could never understand like a situation of a person not liking you and they don't even know you. You haven't had one conversation. They just want to make a narrative that you're this mean person or you're a drama or things like that. And I've been in multiple situations like that in my life. And I always ask myself why I end up in those situations when a lot of the times I try not to like be in a group or be like social in a sense. I always want to make a person feel included and feel like they're okay, and they're not left out in situations and stuff like that. Um, and I know because like I always say like I've been in multiple situations in my life that I've always been left out of the one that's always been picked on or the ones that was the last few to be picked on a team and whatnot. And so it does still have an effect on you in adulthood, which I genuinely don't understand. But I guess with the sense of when you're maturing, your emotions also mature. And so in the world of life, you have to understand of how you wish you expressed yourself when you were a child, which you more so can express yourself now that you fully have the right to as an adult, and so like it takes a longer time, especially for me, as being normal, for how to express your feelings of always being shut down or ignored, and so you just mask yourself of ignoring your feelings, and your feelings are never truly validated, and so, or if it is, it's only opposed by abuse, right? And so I generally feel that, and I feel like a broken record as well too with certain things of saying like I know who I am, I know that a person making a false narrative about me isn't true, which it isn't, which it is they're just bored of their life and they want to draw attention to that fake narrative of that you're the issue when really they're the problem, and I can never understand why it's old people too that want to bring a younger person down. Old people are supposed to be wisdom and mature, right? And it'd be the one old person that just want to hate a younger person. I never could understand to want also have a full energy on trying to tear somebody down just because your life isn't good. You know, you don't know what the person B is from the person A of trying to bully person B, and person B could be dealing with a lot of self-conscious thoughts or, things like that to lead them to self-harming and things like that. And, I could never understand the fact of to take that energy onto, instead of knowing a person, you could take that same energy into knowing a person as well, instead of trying to destroy a person's life. Like instead of waking up and let me figure out a way of destroying a person's life, the world would be a much better place if we had the mindset of let me wake up and get to know somebody's life, instead of trying to make a menace of somebody's life or make it more of worse for the person of what they're already dealing with, right? And so I think that in a grand scheme of things, we all are so perfect. We live in a world of we need to do things perfectly. And I don't think we need to do things perfectly. Like, I even was just like, maybe I should stop getting out. Maybe I should get out of bed and make a video of me actually sitting, where I should be doing what is comfortable for me, instead of trying to fit the narrative that my life is perfect when it's not, right? And so I see the difference too in my videos, where videos like this get more views than the ones where I'm actually sitting on my chair. And I think that's kind of funny too. And I guess because I even going back to the question of why I still make YouTube videos when nobody watches me, right? It's because I know it helps me, because I try therapy, and it's just doing these videos are my therapy, not that my goal in life is to help someone, understand that they're not a problem. You can't change somebody's behavior. You can't, as much as you want to force somebody to like you, you can't make somebody like you. And you can know somebody your whole life, and they don't care about you, and it sucks because you spend so much time and energy and, effort into that person and the friendship, and realizing that it was only a one-sided friendship, And so I took that time now in realizing that it's better, to be alone. And the right people in your life are the ones that know who you are, and won't listen to those people that want to lie about you, right? And I fear, well, not really fear, but I even had a moment of realization of a setback. Well, not a setback, but taking a step back and just a realization of what I've done this year. And I said to a friend as well, my 13-year-old self would have been like, wow, I actually did that. What the fuck? Because even I even said before, I told myself I would never be a lifeguard. And now I'm a certified CPR lifeguard, right? And so I give a lot of things with my Norwegian training. I was a horrible tester, and with that whole week, I was getting 80s and 90s and 100s, and that was not my average whatsoever in grade school. And that was military training in a week, basic military training in 1 week, and I did all of that. But I know, we all know I had to take one test, which was the firefighting test, not the paper test. I had to retake the paper test because we did the physical and the water physical on the same day, and I was not focused. I was so fucking tired. So that was the only one that I really felt bad, and that was my actual average grade in school. But I retested, and and got my average back to where that week it was, right? But even with that, I proved myself that I am capable and I am smart, And it's just that I was never really challenged with my capabilities just because of my learning disability and things like that. And you wouldn't even imagine, wow, you have a learning disability. I would never assume that. Exactly. And so that's what it's just of everything, that disability isn't only physical, right? And so I just felt that with everything, fitting in is like the social normal, that you have to have a friend group. If you don't have a friend group, then you're the problem, and all of that, where really it just brings me a lot of anxiety because of like I have to make sure that my look is what somebody else wants instead of what I want and what makes me happy. And it's so exhausting because like to live up a standard of somebody else that is not giving you that same energy is just like you're wasting your time, because a relationship is a two-way thing. It's not one person has to change of who they are, how they look, how they act to make the other person happy. Like the other person has to also look at what they need to change in order to make somebody else happy. And I don't even think that in a relationship we should worry about how to change, but to what improve of what the personality of people, of who we are. A relationship shouldn't really be focused really on how to change somebody. It should really what improve somebody, and that's what is the sad part about it, and why I really not in avoid, but I really just have a standard of like in a relationship, my focus isn't on what I need to change. My focus is on what can we improve to make the relationship last long. And, and it's what we should do in order to make us happy together. Not individually, but bring some more what we could improve longevity, right? And I think that when it comes to everything, it's just like the expectations, and like I know it's so hard because like we're not the same people whatsoever, but from a perspective of somebody who doesn't feel like they're a normal person, and wishes that they're normal, because normal is like you don't have mental problems and you're not, labeled as neurotypical and blah, 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 right? And I think that with everything, it's just that I live my life basically thinking like, okay, how can I make God happy? And not realizing what in life should make me happy. And I think that's why I have a real hatred with God now, because of that, because of only being taught of what God, hold on. Yeah, because I'm half tired too. But yeah, I was only raised and only taught of what I should do in order to make God happy, instead of in order of what I should do for myself and what makes me happy. And so I'm doing things in life, and I look back in my life of like, wow, I really didn't have a real group of friends because all of my friends were at church, and the only other thing was like school. And so I didn't really have dance friends or, whatever type, gymnastic friends, whatever, right? Because, like, it's kind of sucked because, like, I wish I had a life outside of church and school. And that was, like, the only two things in my life, really, that was, like, there and realized that it was just a waste for my life. Not school. Like, I graduated, which that's a good thing, and I'm able to go to college and stuff. But church, because church didn't really benefit me, but depression and anxiety, right? And that's just from my experience, I don't want somebody coming on here and thinking like, oh, I shouldn't go to church because of go to church for you. Don't go to church based off what I've already experienced, because like I've grew up in the church my whole life, and it made me realize that I don't want my child to be growing up in a church, because there's other things besides church in order to be happy. You know, a child should have two loving parents to keep them safe, not a church, you know, that whole fucking shit. And so, sorry, I'm playing with the rubber band. And so, like, now I'm just like, you know, trying to create a life, and it's hard sometimes too, with people trying to put a negative image on you and knowing that that's not you. And so it's just like, okay, you know, so it's like you're trying to defend yourself, and it's like, why you're trying to defend yourself when you know. And I always hate it too when videos come up and be like, the person that's silent is the right person. I think honestly it's wrong, because I feel like the silent person is the one that isn't taking any accountability of their wrongdoing, right? That statement isn't always true in my opinion, because like I said, I feel like the person who stays quiet is the one that doesn't want to take accountability when they're wrong as well. And that, you know, I just don't think that it's fair for a person who speaks up for themselves when the person that is silent is the one that is the narcissist or the manipulator, and the one who is finally speaking up for themselves is the one who's been oppressed and abused in the relationship, you know, or friendship. And so I just, that's the problem of why people can't even speak up now, because of that narrative, you know. But I'm here to say that if it's okay for you to speak up when something isn't wrong, or is when somebody is treating you wrong, you know, because they will be doing the same thing when it happens to them. So speak up for yourself, because you have a voice and you should use your voice. So I think that's going to be my nightly TED Talk. I don't fucking know. I'm tired and have delusion. So like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.